Welcome, everybody, to episode 108 of the Standing 8 podcast. We got a very meaty episode discussing the Riyadh season card that took place in Los Angeles, BMO Stadium last weekend, headlined by Terence Crawford versus Israil Madrimov, supported by a very stacked undercard with upset wins and some underwhelming results. But in the building, in the live stream, we got Courtney the Burt Brown Sugar Tanner. We also got Tiffany Daniels, the First Lady of Boxing, and none other than Michael Gomes out of New Jersey. Always blessed to guys, always honored to have you guys on with us. So let's go straight to the first main topic of the show. We Crawford versus Madrimov. But it was Omaha's Terence Crawford's debut at junior middleweight against Uzbek's Israil Madrimov, where Madrimov's WBA 154-pound title was on the line. The fight was definitely all action, arguably a very back-and-forth tussle of a fight where Crawford needed a handful of rounds to get accustomed to the physicality and awkwardness of Madrimov with his multiple feints and unfamiliar offensive rhythm. I scored the fight for Crawford 115 to 113. I felt the first three rounds were pretty much size-up rounds from both men, in which I saw Crawford doing enough to get those intro rounds. But round four, going into the middle rounds, Madrimov, he essentially pushed the pedal on offense and went all out to the best of his ability against Crawford. But by the ninth round, I saw Crawford taking control of the wheel, sensing Madrimov had overextended himself energy-wise. From that round on, Madrimov's offensive output, it was very noticeable. His output drastically dropped, more so on the jabs. Crawford, on the other hand, maintained that consistency throughout the course of the fight. And now that Madrimov is overspent at that point, that only made it easier for Crawford to land those jabs and power shots that he had trouble executing in the earlier rounds. Things that I think paid dividends for Crawford down the stretch was him not being deterred from what he wanted to do eventually, conserving his energy, being patient, regardless of how well Madrimov appeared to be doing offensively in the middle rounds. So that's my take on it. Tiffany, let's get your thoughts on Crawford versus Madrimov. I know it's well documented. Your team Crawford, but would you agree? It was a very tough fight to score. Some saw it a little bit wider for Crawford, but let's get your thoughts, Tiffany.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay. So yeah, I was actually on vacation from my hotel room, and I was actually scoring it. I'm trying to be more PC. I was told I can't really say what I really want to say. I can't be very opinionated as much anymore because of what I'm doing outside of the podcast. But I did score I had a scorecard. I think I had my score. It was 116 to 112 for Crawford. My scorecard was very close to Steve Weisfeld's card. I think it was one round we didn't score the same. I can't remember what round it is because I left my scorecard trying to get out of Orlando. So, but I did score everything, like I said, 116 to 112. And like you said, Madrimov had some success. Yeah, he hit Crawford a lot. You can tell on Crawford's face, he was getting hit. He was very awkward. His upper body didn't match his lower body. It was really hard to time that guy. He threw a lot of feints, foot feints, upper body feints. He was just a strong opponent, and then a lot of people forget that he was the, sparring partner for B-Ball. So we got to keep that in mind. And people, that was a tough fight. I see Madrimov as, I don't know what people were expecting. I guess I probably didn't expect that well of a fight from Madrimov as well, but he did very good. I still felt like Crawford pressed the action, which allowed Madrimov to do some counter punching. But I think he still did enough to pull out the win. And I was telling somebody else, people were like, oh, well, you didn't do enough to beat the champ, but in judging, that does not exist. All that stuff that we hear, oh, you got to beat the champ, you got to come in there. That does not exist in professional judging. We judge it round by round. We don't do it as an overall, like how we think it should go or what we think or how we feel. We just judging it round by round. And if I judge it round by round, that's the score that I came up with. But like to your point, Aaron, towards the end, the latter rounds, you could start to see Madrimov kind of slow down, and he was actually getting hurt to where he started clinching. So you can tell, Crawford was making some headway there. But I thought it was a great fight, great card overall.
Yeah, and going back to your previous point, you're right. Scoring rounds round by round, it's kind of like you got to keep each round its own individual person, like its own individual. Keep it each round. It has its own individuality. I guess for lack of a better term. Great assessment, Tiffany. Let's get to you, Michael. Give us your assessment, your biggest takeaways from that fight.
Look, Madrimov deserves to be in the ring of the likes of guys like Bud Crawford. One thing I'll say, he's a very big 154 pounder. Now we all understand why Bivol uses him as a sparring partner. He's got triple G written all over him. A lot of those Eastern European guys, they're strong. They're very strong. They got a good chin. What I did like from Bud Crawford, especially being his first fight, he was cautious as he needed to be cautious. He's getting acclimated to a big weight. It's a vast difference when you're going from 147 to 154 versus, let's say, 135 to 140. Sometimes your weight or your power doesn't carry the same going from 147 to 154. And we saw it a lot with boxers like Floyd when he went from 140 to 147. Even with Manny Pacquiao, they lost their power. It's not that they lost their power. At that weight, it wasn't their prime in terms of their peak power. So I like the fact that towards the end of the fight, Bud was actually hurting him. And that's not a true 154. That guy can fight easily at 160 with no problem. So that tells me Bud's power, did not take a step back, which I'm happy about that, obviously because I'm a Bud Crawford fan as well. As far as the fight, in terms of the scorecards, I scored it, the same as Tiffany. I thought that Bud Crawford won it unanimously with no questions. If anybody had any doubt that Bud was the winner that night, then they should stop watching boxing for sure. It's not their sport. Go watch rugby or something else. But outside of that, I thought it was a well-executed game plan on Bud's part. I thought that he dictated the pace for the most part. Yes, Madrimov rounds 5, 6, and 7 started pushing the pace, but you have to push the pace against a guy like Bud Crawford. That's what you have to do, right? Because you're at a disadvantage with Bud. So you have to do that. And obviously, it didn't work out well for him. And I'm just excited to see what happens moving on in the future for Bud. I don't know how many more fights he's going to have. Bud is already 36. So I don't see Bud fighting in a ring for more than maybe 3 or 4 fights. Honestly, I'm going to say it. I think the Canelo fight's still there. I don't care what the Sheik, His Excellency, says. I think that the fight is still there because it's the only money fight to be had. And that is a huge pay-per-view fight. And let's just be honest. I know that I'm skipping. I know that I'm pushing the envelope here, but I don't think Canelo's got a lot of money fights coming up. I don't think that he's got any viable opponents that'll fill up an arena or a stadium like Bud. That is the money fight to make. And I think essentially they're working themselves to a fight at a catch weight at some sort of, whatever. Canelo's going to win that, negotiation because he's the A side in that fight. As much as I like Bud, let's face it. Canelo is the A side between a fight between Bud and Canelo. But that's the money fight for both of them, and that's the money fight for Bud. And I hope he gets that fight for the sake of him and his family because he deserves it. He deserves the big payday as anybody else deserves it, right? Let's face it, Canelo's got a fight where Berlanga, he's just there to collect a check, just like Charlo was, right? He's going to look, that's all it is. Outside of that, I don't got much more to say about that fight. I just don't know what's the game plan. I don't know what's the future for Bud at 154, besides maybe a fight with one of the Charlo brothers. And that's about it. I don't see anything else besides that and the Canelo fight. I really don't. That's the only clarity I need in boxing right now at the age of 36 where Bud is at this point of his life. What is next? Who's next? What happens? What's the exit strategy? Because these boxers all have exit strategies, especially at that level that Bud's in, right? You know, Canelo has to have one. He's got one. You know, we just don't have the clarity as to what it is. I'm going to pass it over to my buddy over here, Courtney, because I know he's got a lot to say.
Go ahead, Courtney. I don't even know, Gomes transition for me. There you go, man.
Hey, Mike Gomes. It's just beautiful to have you back on and back in the hemisphere again, bro. Hey, I love you, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much aligned with Gomes and the First Lady, in that it was, I'm kind of, I always say it, boxing fans are the most fickle creatures on earth, because the thing is, if Bud went in there and just dominated or steamrolled Madrimov, people would have been like, "Who is this guy Madrimov?" Or he picked the easiest guy at 154. They come in and take out. It's a money grab. He's just trying to get a line of belt. Some people might have even claimed weight bully, this or that, da. But I want to give a shout out to my boy out in Hong Kong representing the UK, Roy Bennett. He was screaming from the rooftops that this was going to be a competitive fight from the jump, and it was going to be closer than everybody was thinking it was going to be. And with Roy, I kind of needle him a lot. I say, he always hypes up fights, and he always gives the underdog more of a chance than they have. Here he was spot on, though. And we saw why Madrimov was a champion at 154. We saw Madrimov, why he's being fast-tracked. It's easy to paint the narrative that, Bud got taken life or death with a guy who had 11 fights. Well, he was a guy who obviously had a solid pedigree. And if anybody's been watching the Olympics the past couple weeks and has seen the boxers that are coming out of Uzbekistan, you'll know they are not producing anything other than excellence. That is the new Cuba. That is the new Escuela. And they're doing it with a completely different style. So I think what we saw with Madrimov, that's going to open a lot of people's eyes to that. And just seeing how Bud was able to adapt to that, and that he didn't allow himself to be taken out of his depth when the fight didn't go the way he was trying to push it. I think we saw Bud Crawford in there take a deep breath, kind of slow it down, and recalibrate. And it's like, all right, I know I was in the press, or I was in the media. I was saying I was going to rain thunder and fire down on this dude. He was, I was going to go for the knockout if he made any mistakes. Well, I'm not being able to capitalize on the mistakes that he's making like I thought. So let me go in there. Let me be methodical. Let me win this fight. And that's what he did. And I say the boxing fans are fickle as per se is like, we actually got a value for money fight in the main event of this matchup. We weren't paying for a coronation. We weren't paying for a gimme. The fight was a good fight. Both guys kept it thorough all the way through. I just think in close fights, the guy who finishes better down the stretch is the one who gets it on the cards, and that was obviously Bud. But I think we got to give all due respect to Madrimov. Bud is definitely doing so on his social media. And I think Madrimov is a guy who will definitely come again. I think he'll definitely be a champion again at 154 at some point, or 160 if he decides to move up, because I think he could be relevant there as well. But in terms of what the future holds for Bud, I think Bud actually has more options than Canelo has. I mean, obviously, I think the goal is to get the Canelo fight, because that's the life altering money that's available out there. But in terms of what he can do, there's Virgil Ortiz, depending on what Virgil Ortiz is gonna look like in this fight coming up. There is Fundora, which is an intriguing matchup. If Fundora navigates past Spence,
Tim Zoo's not out the picture yet. So
Tim Zoo is not out the picture. And then we got Errol Spence, if he can knock off Fundora. Hey, is there anybody here who wouldn't drop coin to see the rematch between Spence and Bud at 154 though? With, you know what I'm saying, with belts on the line? I think they can sell
that
that.
depends on his
That's a very few.
I mean,
That's a
look,
very few.
if he gets
I think they
washed,
can sell that,
if
especially
he gets
Spence
washed against Fundora, I don't think so. But yes, if he beats Fundora, then yes, then I will.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
I'll pay
That would
$100.
obviously be contingent against that. If Spence goes in there and upsets the apple cart and chops down the cherry tree, which is Fundora,
I just don't see it.
I think he has a case. I think that's the only reason he's still campaigning. And he stepped in the ring and said he wanted that fight with Fundora.
The Spence that we're used to seeing is no longer. He's dead. That Spence is dead. That version is dead. This new version.
I think so. And I've never had any illusions about Spence.
Correct. We could all attest to that for sure. That
would be obviously contingent upon Spence doing what we are pretty much conceding is not likely or not possible. But like, you know what I'm saying? But we'll get into. I think we'll get into Canelo's options for the future and his prospects for the future later down on the show. But I'm just gonna lubricate it per se with that statement. In that I think I do definitely think Crawford has more viable options in terms of money making fights, in terms of fights that are gonna move the needle and people want to see than Canelo has without fighting him or without fighting Benavidez. So, and I know my man Tommy Buns has emerged out of the cuts like a Marvel supervillain. I'm not gonna do him like Billy Joe Saunders, you know, where he's getting pissed off that people aren't booing him loud enough or whatever, man. I'm just gonna sneak the mic. Hey, you got it, bro. You got it.
Hey, so just like Crawford, Tommy Rush, he came through in the end. What's up, Tommy? So give us your assessment of Crawford versus Madrimov. Yeah, man. The podium is yours, dude.
Oh man, so glad to be back on for one. Let's get it cracking up in this shit. So I just came in on the back end, and I didn't hear everybody's sentiments on the fight, but it was definitely a close fight. You know, to start the fight out, you know, obviously I thought that Bud was filling him out. You know, normally that's what he does. He fills people out. You know, he's gonna make sure that he's gonna kind of get that information and get the flow of everything. But he answered. He came back towards the middle rounds. He really started capitalizing on his skill set versus Madrimov. And ultimately, I feel like he did exactly what he needed to do. You know, he knew how to close the fight. He fought like a champion. He knew what he needed to do to win rounds. He was able to keep Madrimov off of him. You know, he controlled the ring and the flow of the fight. I was really excited and glad to see, you know, he hit that championship mode, you know, in those last few rounds and really stepped it up and did what he needed to do to close out the fight. I had the fight 115, 113. I could even see, you know, which some people were saying like 116, 112 was ridiculous. I didn't feel like that was ridiculous. I mean, it's not too far off. It's not a dominating type, you know, fight, and it wasn't. It was clearly a very good fight. We got our money's worth. It was a great card overall as well. And I mean, it was a test. It was a test for Bud, and that's what he needed. That's what he looks for. He wants those challenges. And I think that, you know, him coming up, obviously from 135, essentially all the way up to where he is now, 154, and challenging somebody of this caliber, undefeated, regardless of if he's only got, you know, 10, 11 fights, undefeated fighter that was well acclimated to that weight as well. That was a true challenge for him and what he needed, but he persevered that, and he did what he needed to do to close it out. I did hear us kind of talking a little bit about like potential of other fights and everything. And one thing I will say, as far as where we go, because I know we'll get into Turkey and all of that stuff a little bit later and some of the other pieces of the agenda. But what I will say is this fight that we have coming up tomorrow could, you know, pose some options for Bud as well, because we know that over the last few years, Virgil Ortiz has been, you know, mentioning Bud and been interested in a fight with Bud. And this is for the WBC interim world title at 154. So, I mean, hey, that could be another one of those avenues. We all know what Bud's ultimate goal is and has been and will continue to be, is chasing that legacy. Obviously, yes, he wants he wants to be paid handsomely, for where he is and what he's doing for the sport and being one of the greatest right now. But he wants that 3-time undisputed, and picking up a belt right now, potentially being able to get a good, very good money fight that people for sure would buy, of a Virgil Ortiz versus Bud. That would be a fight that would sell. It would be a good fight. So, I mean, if they were able to put that together and make that happen, that could give him another shot towards that 3-time undisputed, put him on that right track. Yes, he's aging a bit, but he'd be a lot closer and he wouldn't have to fight Canelo. So that could be something that could be down the road a little bit.
Hey, I'm gonna pose a question that's probably gonna give me a lot of hate in the comments section, but let's let it ride. Does Virgil Ortiz really deserve a fight with Terence Crawford? If we're really looking at it, and we're really being objective, and we're really and that's a question I'm posing to the rest of the panel. I want to get everybody's thoughts on that. Do you really believe Virgil Ortiz deserves the payday against Crawford?
I mean, if he rightfully becomes a champion becomes the WBC champion, the main champion at 154, I don't see why not. If Crawford to have a fight with Crawford, that's my initial thoughts. But anyone else want to piggyback off that, or?
Does he deserve a fight? So, two-part question. Is he on track?
Deserve? Has he earned it? Like, you know what I'm saying?
No, he hasn't earned it. He hasn't earned it. No. I mean, even what is he, 21-0? I don't think he's earned that fight.
21-0, 21 knockouts.
I think Fondora we can make a better case for Fondora that he's earned it. I think that it's a fight which is a separate issue in itself, or a separate conversation. It's a fight that, fans would tune in and pay to see, but earning it, no, I don't think he's earned it. I think there's other boxers in line that deserve that fight. I even think the Charlo brothers deserve that fight before Virgil Ortiz does, to be honest with you, in my opinion. I don't think, but is he deserving to be mentioned? Yeah, he's deserving to be mentioned. He just, in my opinion, he doesn't deserve to be the first or the second option right now, or even the third if you throw Canelo in the mix, right? So no. Then to answer your question, then the answer is no. He doesn't deserve the fight. Not right now. Not right now.
Anybody else want to touch that one?
Jeff, you go ahead. I'm gonna let.
We'll sit this one out.
All right. Okay.
I'm going to just say this. Like, Spence deserves a fight with Bud Crawford at 154 just because of all the assumptions and the speculations that the reason. And look, in all fairness to Spence, he did look drained that night. I still think that at 154, the same thing is going to happen, because ultimately Spence's biggest problem is that he's flat-footed against a guy like Bud Crawford who can hit you from any type of angle, right? So Spence deserves a fight before Virgil Ortiz, right? So, I mean, there's too many people that deserve that fight right now, 154 before Virgil, for sure. But I wouldn't be mad at it. For sure.
Well, dissecting Corny's question, if he phrased it as if is Virgil Ortiz deserving more compared to his contemporaries at 154, I would say no. Put it that way. But yeah. Tommy,
and that's the way I meant it. I'm in no way denigrating Virgil Ortiz and saying like, who is this kid? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, nah, nothing like that. Nothing like that. I'm just saying, in the current landscape, and listen, let's be real. Virgil Ortiz has been I would say almost chronically inactive and very injury prone. You know what I'm saying? Virgil Ortiz is right now. Virgil Ortiz and Artur Beterbiev are kind of like the D Rose of boxing right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna kick it real. You know what I'm saying? And obviously, in the commentary, we gotta give Virgil Ortiz a fair shake and a fair chance because of what he's been dealing with. And we got, you know what I'm saying? And he definitely we deserve, and as before we form a solid opinion on this, to see how he's going to look this weekend. But I mean, I'm just saying, when you rack and stack the current configuration of names between 147 and 168, because that's where Canelo is now. You know what I'm saying? Where does Virgil Ortiz fall in line? And is, you know what I'm saying, is his place in line? Is it elevated from where it should be?
Yeah, I think that right now, does he deserve it? No. Has he earned it? No. However, if he holds one of those infinity stones that Bud needs, then just like you said, elevate it immediately. Like that's all it is to it. Because if he holds one of those belts and Bud has one and he has another, and then it's only a couple more fights, maybe one more fight if it works out the right way to where
his foot's in the door. So.
Yeah, where he can end his career 3-time undisputed and say fuck you to Canelo and all the shit that you're talking and try to pull all of these punches, because he's only been going after Canelo because Charlo sold out for the fucking bag and dropped his belt. Because if one of the Charlos would have still been undisputed, he'd have been going to fight them instead, and he wouldn't have even been talking about Canelo. Once they sold out and dropped that belt so they can get that bag, that changed the trajectory of what Bud needed to do. So then that's where he really started putting Canelo's name in his mouth and looking for that fight, because he was the next viable option to make this quick, so I can try to chase greatness, chase this legacy, and get that 3-time undisputed. So if they're and we all know and are going to talk about all of the stuff that's been going on back and forth with the relationship between all of them and Turki and Bud and Canelo, if they can do that without Canelo, you better believe they're going to do it, because Turki's still going to pay Bud very handsomely for 2 or 3 more fights. So if he can take 2 or 3 more fights, just like he just fought Madrimov and got a belt, if he can fight a Virgil and make a pretty decent splash of a selling fight, he's gonna do that too. And then he'll do 1 more or 2 more, whatever it will take for him to actually end up undisputed and say, I got it anyway. And fuck you, Canelo. I didn't need you to do it. So I think that in that case, immediately Virgil is elevated into that shot of, yeah, let's go ahead and make the fight then. If we want to go ahead and do it, he'll sign it up for that.
Hey, I want to touch on something real quick, Tommy, because with your boy Rowdy Saudi, man, and I thought it was so slick and so subtle, but such a jab at Oscar and what he did and at Canelo, is that he didn't sign Crawford. He named him an ambassador. Like, you know what I'm saying? I thought that was
yes,
so cool.
Sir.
But back to Virgil Ortiz, because it's the question that I posed to the panel. But with Ortiz, he knocks people out. Yes, he sells. You know what I'm saying? The numbers are going to be there with Ortiz. I'm not disputing any of that. For me personally, it's like it's almost like I gotta see this fight that he's got coming up. That's not going to be enough for me, as far as saying like, hey, he legitimately deserves this shot at Bud. Because if you look at Bud's accomplishments, I almost got to see Virgil Ortiz in there with a Fundora. I got to see him in there with a Charlo. I got to see him in there with a Spence. I got to see him in there with one of those guys first before I see him in there with Crawford. Because I feel like if he can fight one of those dudes and impress, then that just, you know what I'm saying, that makes the value of that Ortiz Crawford fight that much more extraordinary.
But that isn't that like kind of hinged on the fact that he got to win tomorrow. He in there with somebody that can knock his ass out. So this might all be null and void if he loses tomorrow. So
Facts.
I don't know.
Which we saw with the weigh-in, he looked pretty drained, trying to cut that weight. I mean, he came in at weight, but he looked pretty drained. So we'll see what happens. You know, hopefully he does win, and he wins in outstanding fashion. And if he does, and he becomes, you know, a title holder, it's a different conversation at that point. You know, it's definitely a different conversation. But he has to win. You know, that's the main thing. He has to win tomorrow.
You know, we've name dropped the Excellency Turki Alalshikh multiple times. So let's transition to that for the current topic of this live stream. So, which I want to get your thoughts on the overall card. The overall festivities of Riyadh season on U.S. soil, specifically Los Angeles at the BMO Stadium, right across from USC. To those who don't know where it is, relatively speaking, but you had it was treated as a big extravagant event. You had Eminem on the, opening up for Crawford, like almost a concert. Too late for us boxing fans. We had to go. We went. I enjoyed it personally, but I don't know about you guys. We also had a stacked undercard, and also the theatrics came with it. With Tiffany, you and I spoke about this with the Excellency being, heavily gassed up by the Nevada Hall of Fame with that award. So let me get to you, Marco Gomes. What did you think about the whole festivities, and also any takeaways you got out from the undercard as well? Your first impressions of the card in general.
I thought it was one of the best cards to date, in my opinion. I thought you couldn't put a better card in place, and he did an excellent job. I mean, every fight was entertaining, and we knew that already going into the fight last week. I thought that was very brilliant of him, because even if you weren't tuning in for Bud's fight, there was 3 fights out there that you could have been tuning in easily, that we would have been happy. Any of those fights could have probably almost headlined, right? Taking away the names in terms of quality, any of those fights could have headlined. So I thought he did a great job, in terms of, putting very good fights together. And it was an entertaining night. I thought it was a little bit too late myself. But I thought for the price, I thought if you're a boxing fan, you got a bargain. I think it was $74. I thought you got a bargain. There was probably $200 worth of fights there, in my opinion. And if he continues to do that, he's going to spoil us as fans. And we all know that cannot be sustainable, even though he has very deep pockets, but I'm excited for it, because it seems like that is going to be the format for him moving forward. So I think we got a good 2 years of these type of quality fights, this type of undercard. So I'm excited for that, but I just don't think that it's, I don't think that it's sustainable. We saw that already before with Al Heyman and the PBC card. We got very good fights there also on the undercard, and that was unsustainable, right? And they started moving from platform to platform. So I don't know, but that's a little bit different, because you're talking about billions of dollars of backing there, and Al Heyman didn't have that kind of backing. He did have big money behind him, but this is like endless money, right? So maybe they're willing to take a loss every time, because this is what they're going to do. I don't know where. Look, everything has to have, everything is a business decision. Everything is a financial decision. I don't see where they're going to yield. So that's what I'm saying. Is it because they're going towards a Canelo fight and that's what their payday? I don't know, but it has to be that, because you can't continue to justify taking a loss on these fights, right? So where does it end? But until then, as a fan, I'm excited, because it seems like this is going to be it. These are going to be the type of fights he's going to put on, and there's no way you cannot be excited for these type of fights. I mean, we had a great undercard with, Jared Anderson and Martin Bacoli. I mean, that was a great fight in itself. Some people call it an upset. I don't think it was that much of an upset, right? Along with the other fights that you had. So just suck it in as a boxing fan and hope that this continues for a couple more years. But I just know that it's not sustainable. I also think that, look, I get it, Sir Excellency and all that and blah, 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 blah. Let's come on, let's stop with the catering and all that. Let's just, it's boxing at the end of the day, and he's a normal human being. He bleeds just like us, right? But that's my take on it. Let's see what happens. But guys, I got to get out of here. I got to pick up my 2 kids. It was a pleasure as always. Thank you, Tiff. It was a pleasure seeing you, Tommy. As always, great seeing you. Courtney, my man. Nice seeing you. And Aaron, always thank you for putting this together.
Great to see you, Mike.
Likewise.
Have a great night, Michael Gomes.
Same to you.
Thank you for joining us. There you go.
Sir, bro.
And let me just do a bullet list rundown of these undercard fights. that we were so blessed to witness. You had Jose Rayo Valenzuela with the split decision upset victory over Isaac Cruz, becoming the new WBA super lightweight champion. I just want to make a side comment. Rayo Valenzuela, born in Mexico but raised out in Washington. He's a testament to everyone to that true narrative that a loss doesn't define you. It's more so how you rebound from that. And not only did he rebound from that loss, but he had that highlight knockout win over Colbert, and still making moves, and it culminates to that win over Cruz. So shout out to Rayo Valenzuela. Also, Michael Gomes alluded to this. The Congolese Martin Bokoli crossing the pond to upset the American heavyweight Jared Anderson by a 5th round knockout, winning the WBO International Heavyweight title. And also, you have the pair of American heavyweights, Andy Ruiz Jr., Jarrell Miller, with Ruiz returning from a 2-year hiatus to share that majority draw result with Miller. And also the rising undefeated Cuban star, David Morrell, with the unanimous decision victory over Kaladzik to win the vacant WBA light heavyweight title. So, Tiffany, give us your overall impressions of Riyadh season, its debut on U.S. soil, and your biggest takeaways from the undercard.
Okay, so my biggest takeaway from the whole event was, even before the fight started, it was fight week. The entrances, the grand entrances, the fights on the Santa Monica Pier, all those things that led up to Saturday night. I love the undercard. It was filled with, I missed most of them. I seen like highlights. I had to go back and watch them. But like you said, it was like a stacked card. We couldn't ask for anything better than that. They gave away cars and all kinds of shit in the, like you just for being there, you win stuff. Like that was kind of lit. I didn't really care for that concert. I thought he should have brought out like 50 Cent or, like Dr. Dre or K-Dot, somebody. Like, he put me to sleep. Like, we did not need that concert, Eminem. I needed Eminem to get it hype for the crowd. I ain't like it. I like Eminem, but that was not it. I didn't care for that piece. And the other thing I was telling Aaron about, like the whole Turkey thing, that was so bizarre. The whole Boxing Hall of Fame, did he pay for that? What the hell was that? Like, he paid for them to give him something? They did a whole induction ceremony? That was the craziest shit I ever seen in my life. And I'm like, what was that? I don't understand. But I'm like, dude, you've been here for 1 year. It's boxers, champions that's been boxing for 30 years, ain't never got inducted to the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame. And he gets it because he paid for it. That was that. I don't know. That kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But overall, I love the card. Like I said, it was stacked. I hope it continues, kind of like what Mike Gomes said. I hope he continues to spoil us because he has the money. So I'm looking forward. I'm actually looking forward to the cards that he puts on. And he's about business. Like, that guy's stern. Like, he's trying to get stuff done. He's here for the fans. But he reminds me of one of those kids that never had friends. So he going, what the hell? I don't know. So he's buying friends. I don't know what's going on there. But it's really bizarre. But I'm going to enjoy it while we got this all going on. But it was a great card.
Sorry about that. Yeah, that was bizarre. It kind of reminded me, as far as Turkey, kind of reminded me of Office Space, where in that movie the boss had the whole company celebrate his birthday. So it gave me those type of vibes. Tommy, let's get to you. Your thoughts on the whole overall Riyadh season debut on U.S. soil in L.A., as well as your biggest takeaways from the cards.
All right, so I got a couple of things here. So and I love where Tiffany left off, and I was going to jump in, even if you tried to kick it to Courtney, because it was a perfect segue of the things I've been thinking and what we just talked about the kid buying friends, all of that, the different type of stuff. I kind of feel like, and this is, a little Dallas reference, but I kind of feel like Rowdy Saudi, Turkey, for one, he don't like being called His Excellency, so I'm glad, because I ain't calling him that shit. But I kind of feel like he's almost like like almost like the Jerry Jones of boxing right now, right? Like we were talking about, it's a business, the endless money, all of these different types of things, but it's almost the same kind of way with Jerry Jones. Like he's almost got the unlimited resources. Now he's making so much from the Cowboys, but it's like he really doesn't give a damn about actually winning a Super Bowl anymore. Like he it's his baby. It's what he wants to just do, and he's gonna do it. So I almost feel like this is just like you said, like he's of the fans, he's for the fans. Turkey is, and he is a fan. And this is almost like this is his toy truck or something that he's able to play with. He's got all of these resources and money. He can make this stuff happen. He can enjoy it. He's got people, throwing Hall of Fame stuff at his feet, and all of the stuff that's going on. I kind of feel like that's kind of where he is. Like he is, using the money to get this love and everything that he's getting. But yeah, I kind of got that little bit of that vibe with it. I'm like, man, this dude, like, yeah, seriously, he, the going to the wild card gym, where he was in there, and just the awkwardness of how he was talking in there. Aaron, we kind of talked about that a little bit. But yeah, like I'm getting those types of vibes off of it. The card overall, I do feel was a phenomenal card. Yes, it was late. I am also a big Eminem fan, but it wasn't the greatest. I feel like he could have thrown together much better songs for it. I knew that there was going to be some Death of Slim Shady thrown in there because that just released. But yeah, I felt like if we could have went much better in terms of that if we was going to have that type of mini concert from Eminem. Another thing that I'm gonna say about the card is I'm really pissed off that the wrong fucking Big Baby won. Just to be honest, like we have talked so much shit.
Little Similac,
you know what I'm saying? You already know where I was going, Courtney. Like, man, I'm so pissed. I was saying it the whole time. I'm like, man, Jared Anderson has to win. He's got to win this fight. And even if they both win, then maybe we get this WWE somebody's name has to go type fight where we get both of the big babies to fight each other, and the loser got to drop the fucking name. But I was hoping Jared Anderson would win, and the wrong one fucking won. So whatever, it is what it is. It was exciting, but yeah, I was sour about that because I was really truly hoping that it went the opposite direction. But we know what it is with Andy and his hiatus that he's been on, and being out of shape and all that, and he enjoyed the money. Obviously, you heard him in the post fight in the ring. He's like immediately during that loss, I want to do it again, and I want to do it right here. And like he's latching on to that Riyadh season money. He wants all of that, so he's ready to get back in and get his ass beat again, so he can get what I think it was $900,000. I think was his purse. That he ended up getting. So yeah, he got paid pretty good to get in there after 2 years and go through that. So but the card was great. I enjoyed the card. I also missed some of it. I was enjoying a family birthday party kind of at the beginning of it, so I missed a little bit of the beginning. I had to go back and catch it. But definitely it was a great card, great event. As Tiffany alluded to, like the lead up to it throughout the week was great. The marketing was awesome. The car that was given away, I don't remember what brand that was, but that was funny as well with them bringing that dude down. He looked like he was half drunk, didn't know what the hell was going on. He's like, well, I don't know. Like, all right, I want a car. Where's the car? Like, it was cool, but I really do hope that we continue to see these at least for, I can give it a B++. That's a good one. But I do hope and wish that we do continue to see these cards put together. I know that like Gomes said, it's not going to be sustainable. That's where I think the kind of the toy truck thing, where he's like, he knows he's taking these losses. He's backed by a country full of endless money. So like, yes, he's going to take the losses, but this is his toy. He gets to play around with this and also get all of the love and big ups and praise and Hall of Fame, status and all of the stuff that he's getting in the process. So I feel like he will try to sustain this as long as humanly possible and probably take a lot of loss. but he ain't gonna give a shit about the loss because he's gonna be getting the fulfillment that he's getting in another area. And it's not the money, it's not the profit, it's gonna be whether it's the love for the sport, the attention that he gets, the respect that he gets from other people, and just being able to interact on that level, and be a part of it like that. So I do think that this is going to be something that we see for several years. And what I hope is that it doesn't pull like a stock market type deal and bottom out on us where, everybody's getting paid this nice money, kind of like where it's kind of gone from the Floyd era, right? Where now it's become more of a business and people are really more about their money. They're protecting their all of that type of stuff. I hope that the fight's coming together. We get a little bit more of people being willing to fight each other, just from the nature of this, the habit of it. But the money, it's going to be the money. So it's almost like he's going to have to be the ruler of a lot of it in order to make that happen or make it happen for a long time. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think that we get to enjoy this for a good handful of years and then we see where this goes.
I mean, that's the leverage Turkey has, that big stockpile of cash to even make these matchup, to fast track these big matchups that we want to see. So great points, Tommy. Let's go to you, Corny. Your thoughts on the whole Riyadh season debut?
I mean, we could be here. We could be here for like 45 minutes, and y'all know I could talk about a topic in boxing for 45 minutes. I'm not gonna do that, but I mean, like, where to start? Where to begin with this, man? Like okay, dog. Turkey hasn't even put on a card in Nevada. And like the card that he put on was not in Nevada. It was in the next state over. The Hall of Fame traveled to him, yo. Like, that is just wild. That's crazy. But I mean, basically, we saw boxing bow down and kiss the ring. And as far as a guy who was just like dipping his toe into this thing, he has nowhere near the breadth of influence and work and dynamic that a guy like Don King or even Eddie Hearn or his dad Barry Hearn or a Bob Arum has had. But he just put on a show that it was like, yo, we've never seen anything like that, yo. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure Bob Arum was probably in his mansion in Vegas smoking a blunt, like, wow, like what is going on here, yo? But like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Like Turkey could say, I even made Don King say, damn. Like that's what I took from it, man. But it's crazy, it's wild. But I think it's also important to let people know what the motivation or what the grand theory I think is behind this with Turkey and what he's doing. And I think it's something similar to what he did in the golf game, another sport that was kind of fringe, kind of looking for personalities, kind of looking for some exposure beyond like the people who defined the sport for decades not being relevant anymore. And what he did with the LIV tournament, and eventually what the end game was with that is with the whole LIV tour merged with the PGA. So now the PGA is going to be around for as long as professional golf is. So Turkey and that general entertainment authority that he represents from Saudi Arabia, they are going to continue to get residual money and residual profit rather passively off the PGA because they competed with them for like a year and a half. So I think his theory in doing this is I'm gonna cut into boxing. And I'm not going to take it over, but I'm going to make it to where from going on forward, all the biggest fights we're going to get a piece of that income off that. And with people, I don't think he necessarily cares about taking a loss per se, or has the money to take a loss because he has an endless pot of money. No, I think what it is an investment by Saudi Arabia, because this whole Riyadh season, I think 80% of the general population didn't know the capital of Saudi Arabia is a city called Riyadh. You know what I'm saying? So I think what that is, they're putting Saudi Arabia out there and the image. And I think with it being the general entertainment authority, I think the motivation is it's a big advertising campaign for people to come to Saudi Arabia and to draw tourism to Saudi Arabia. So, I mean, and we've seen other big major sports events where an individual state will put a commercial on the Super Bowl. And it's like, hey, come to Wyoming for a vacation. You know what I'm saying? They got this ad of people riding horses and mountain climbing and shit like that. They're like, yo, I think I might want to go to Wyoming or Colorado or New Mexico or whatever for vacation. I think this whole Riyadh season concept and basically him throwing money to the masses and overpaying for events and stay is like, wow. You know, say Saudi Arabia has got the money to interject themselves into the boxing game and do all this. They must have money like that. Yo, like, hey, I might consider taking a vacation to Saudi, you know what I'm saying? Because you look at that region, he's got to compete with Dubai. He's got to compete with Oman and Qatar. You know, say all those have been high scale tourist vacation destinations for years. And now people are considering Saudi Arabia. You know what I'm saying? So, and you know, with also with that pot of money that is coming from the General Entertainment Authority, listen, they've started up a professional soccer league in there that's got all the big names coming out of the European leagues. They're trying to start a basketball league up. Like, they're basically, I think this whole thing is motivated by the Saudi royal family spending a little money to get a lot of money down the line. So, do I think it's going to be sustainable? Like, we're going to be seeing this level of cards in the future, and this is going to be boxing? No, but I think this is where they dip a toe in, they make an investment, they see some residual back, you know, or some dividends back in the future, and more people will shift or pay attention to boxing because that's more people who are going to go to fights and pay for a ticket. That's more people who are going to buy a pay-per-view. So that's basically a means to grow their investment down the line. So I think that all that is what's motivating this whole, Riyadh season and this over-the-top largesse. I think it's a more about that than necessarily the Sheik having this outsized personality where he's insecure or insufficient and just needs the attention or needs friends or whatever. I think he could have stayed in Saudi Arabia and done that and been okay. I think he's doing a little bit of that though, along with bringing in some income for the royal family there in Saudi. As far as how the fights, the card stacks up with the fights, like Michael Gomes was saying, man, pretty much all those cards on the undercard they could have headlined. You know, and been, you know, on another platform or just in and of themselves. You know, you got the largest. You got Nevada coming to California to bestow, you know, a place in the Hall of Fame on him. You got the iconic Santa Monica Pier, you know, in the backdrop for the weigh-in and for the prelim fights that starts the party. You got giveaways of our fight. You got Eminem coming to do a concert. It's kind of like that Kanye moment at the Grammys where he was like, yo, I had Pamela Anderson in my video. Like, I think that's what he's trying to do, is like, yo, I had Eminem, you know, saying basically as the carnival barker for my event. Hey, shout outs and congratulations to Jose Valenzuela. I don't think people are talking about what he did enough. And talking about what that looks like for 140 for the 140 division, and how that basically shook things up. But I think not to go and change the topic on that and just put key in on that. It goes with a lot of people are saying Pitbull had no business being at 140 to begin with, and a dude like Jose Valenzuela went in there and proved that. With the heavyweight fight between Andy Ruiz and Lil Similac, Israil Miller. I think Miller definitely deserved to get that nod. I think even Ruiz thought that. That's why he showed his hand. It's like, well, you know, I know y'all think I lost the fight, but look, I was fighting injured, so give me a break. But like, you know, I think it's clear that Miller, you know, saying he deserved to get that nod on that fight. Morrell, I think he underimpressed in terms of what a lot of people were looking for. But I mean, you got to give him a break. That's his first fight at 175. Beats a very game gatekeeper at 175 in Hot Rod. So I think he's a person to look out for at 175. and that makes a future matchup between him and Benavidez more viable because more people have been able to have a look at him. And then as far as Big Baby Jared Anderson, it was due that that ass whipping that he took in there to Bacoli, even though Bacoli is as serious as a heart attack, to quote my boy Roy Bennett. And I think people who knew and people who were looking at that matchup on paper knew that he was capable of that. But Jared Miller, I think he should have been in there and been able to give a way better account of himself than he did in taking that L. But I'm gonna say it again. It's another clear case of a Jay Prince. Gotta watch my back. Gotta make sure I bullet holes or stab wounds when I mention that dude's name on the show. But it's another example of a Jay Prince fighter or a line fighter being all over the place and everywhere else except where they needed to be, and that's the effing gym. And shout out to Big Steve-O for pointing that out on a broadcast on one of our partners earlier on. But he clearly stated it perfectly. So I'm just quoting him because I couldn't have put it any better. Intriguing, dynamic card that had something for everybody, and the main event delivered and gave value for money. There's not anything else you could have asked for. You can nitpick it. You could say that the entertainment, the concert could have been better. You could have said that the event could have been more streamlined and it could have ended earlier or whatnot. Those those are little nitpicky things. But as far as the boxing, and that's what we always got to boil it down to, because that's what we're here for to begin with. The boxing, it was a feast. And and I think some people came away from the buffet was like, damn, I ate a little bit too much, man. Like, like some of that wasn't, like, oh, I should have skipped the dessert line or whatever. That's what it felt like with that card. So, hey, do I think it's sustainable 10, 20 years down the road? No. But am I looking forward to the next few years of cards like this? Yeah, hell yeah, certainly. It's big throwback energy to those Don King stack cards back in the day in that era. But yeah, I know I said I wasn't gonna talk for like 45 minutes. I'm pretty much damn near close to it. But yeah,
good. One thing, when I was doing that bulletproof rundown of the undercard, one fight I forgot to mention was Andy Cruz. He had that 7th round knockout victory for Antonio Moran. He retains his IBF International and WBA Continental Latin American lightweight titles. And Jerry Salinas, he made that point earlier in the chat. He believes that Andy Cruz, he's going to be a world champion within a year or two. So thank you, Jay, for that comment. Any of you want to piggyback off that comment? Or that we'll leave it at that?
Yeah, I agree with him. I agree with him. I mean, I think the kid, I think he's got the goods, man. It's exciting. So, like, I fully agree with that. I think he's on his way.
Awesome. So, last topic, but we'll try to make it short because I want to talk about, not so much about the fight, how we preview the fight, because I think we all unanimously know how that fight's going to be, but more so about the press conference that happened a few days ago with Canelo Alvarez versus Edgar Berlanga in L.A. A lot of shenanigans. From my view, I thought, Edgar, he was two personalities. At first, at the press conference, he was showing Canelo a lot of respect. But during the middle, during the middle of that event, he turned a 180, and talking about he's gonna dominate Canelo, and even brought Caleb Plant. He name dropped Caleb Plant in there to rile things up. And I think that's a big mistake for Edgar Berlanga, because you're giving Canelo Alvarez a very good reason to not just beat you, but potentially knock you out emphatically. So that's how I looked at it. Tommy, your thoughts on that very lively press conference that they had here in LA.
Yeah, that shit was wild, man. just straight up, it was wild. Like it was a little all over the place. Like obviously you can see, tell, and feel that they're heavily marketing and, you know, they're on hardcore. But yeah, that was a wild press conference, man. And like some of the gestures and things they were saying to each other, and you know, Berlanga dropping them in bombs, like just all, like it was all over the place. And so entertaining for sure, you know, because it was heavily watched, heavily talked about. It did the job. But yeah, it was a little bit of everything, to be honest. I agree with you, Aaron. I think that Berlanga's immaturity is biting him in the ass heavily right now, because he has no clue what he's doing with this. This is the very, very last thing you want to do, but to piss off an egotistical, great, dominant Canelo. Like, you don't want that fucking smoke, dude. Like, and like, I think that he feels like he's gonna get under Canelo's skin, and really, what's about to happen is it's gonna be a much more brutal version of what Canelo experienced against a Floyd Mayweather. Like, it's gonna be a schooling, but it's gonna be an ass whooping. This is gonna be schooling. He's the principal that's got the paddle with the holes in it. Like he's about to whoop some ass, and that ass gonna get stuck. No Diddy. No. But it's gonna be serious, man. And I do see an emphatic knockout in that case. Like, I think he's gonna get brutalized in that fight, especially if this continues to be the type of temperature and energy that they're gonna be on. Like, it's not gonna be good for him, man. And he's not going to learn from it the way that Canelo learned from that schooling that Floyd gave him. You know, we saw Canelo get dominated and just completely ran circles around. Not literally for the Floyd haters, because he stood there and stood in the pocket and fucked him up. But literally, he ran circles around him, and Canelo took every note, every page in his notebook, and had tons of notes on it. And we continue to see the things that he's learned from that fight. This ain't gonna be that. There's gonna be a whole different fucking thing. He's gonna fuck him up, like, bad, really bad. This may be if it's not a sleep KO, somebody's throwing a towel in, because he's gonna get fucked up.
There you go. And it's getting lively in the chat. We got Steven Ruiz with the broken orbital bone 2.0 when you piss off Canelo. Yeah, you won't carry him like you did Munguia. And we got Jerry Salinas. Yeah, Alvarez, he says, in quote, Alvarez is going to show out for his country on their Dia de Independencia. So thank you for your comments. Shout out to you guys. Tiffany, your thoughts about that press conference? Go ahead, Tiffany.
Like Tommy said, man, they are just selling this fight. They're going to argue because, let's be honest, nobody asked for this shit. We don't want to see Berlanga. We don't want to see this Canelo. So you can say whatever you want to say. You can make this up all you want to do. We don't want to see this fight. We know dude's going to get beat up. I'm going to watch UFC. I ain't even watching the fight. I might buy it just to see Danny Garcia and Israil Madrimov fight. That might be it. I don't want to see anything else on that card. I don't want to see Canelo fuck him up. But what is funny is, like, all the interviews that Canelo's doing afterwards, him cussing. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. I do like that. But outside of that, I'm not really interested in watching that fight. But I will tell people, if you've never been to a Canelo Alvarez fight live, you should definitely do it. The energy is out of this world. It's nothing like you will ever feel in your lifetime. It's just energetic. His fans come out the woodwork. So if you ever get a chance to see him in person, go do it. But I will not be watching the beatdown of Berlanga. I wouldn't be mad if he did a fluke and knock Canelo out. That would be hilarious. But I don't see that happening. I just can't support it anymore. I just can't do it. Fight somebody we want to, and I understand. I'm tired of the attitude. I'll do what I want to do. We get it. We get it. You're the big dog, but just retire. Go play golf. Go do something. If you want to just fight exhibitions, Go do that on somebody else's dime. I don't want to see it anymore. But yeah. But if you're in the Vegas area, go to the Canelo Alvarez fight. You'll love it. You'll love the energy in the crowd and the people and the fans.
That's been like the number one thing constant in the Canelo fights is the crowd, you know, the energy, the atmosphere in the venue. I mean, that's been the constant for Canelo. And but we'll see if and as far as Canelo, me and Courtney spoke up about this off camera. For Canelo going forward, if it's not a Crawford for Canelo, is any other name attached to Canelo is going to be a very hard sell, you know, going forward. So, but yeah, I think Courtney's back on. Courtney, you good? There you go. Hey, Courtney. You know your thoughts about that press conference, and if you want, you could give us your overall impressions. But we all know what's most likely going to be. But go ahead, your thoughts on Canelo Berlanga press conference. Go ahead, Courtney.
Yeah, I've just come to a point, man. Maybe it's because I'm old now, bro. I don't watch these pressers anymore, man. It's just it's too extra, man. And I know a lot of people are like, you know, the pressure was too extra, but you know, you just went on this spiel about the fight card for Riyadh season. It's different, man. It's different because all right, I'm all for an event that's grandiose that delivers, but I mean, basically, it's so basically what Tiffany was saying in terms of like, yo, I'm fed up. I'm not going to spend my money on this shit anymore. You know, for Canelo to fight these people, like when you know it's obvious the fans are demanding that he fight other people. Like I get that notion. I'm not saying that I'm not going to tune in, that I'm of that same, but you got to completely empathize with people coming to that and feeling like that. And I think the antics in these pressers and these press conferences, it's indicative of that. Is that it's desperation. They're doing everything they can to sell this. And you know, with Canelo, I think he's squandering his image as far as like as what he can be as far as an ambassador for the sport. In terms of just it just seems it always goes street. It's just always ghetto. You know, that's what it always devolves into. You know, you've even got that interview with Big Boy from the radio station in L.A. circulating. You know what I'm saying, where they're basically breaking down and analyzing like Canelo's like cuss words and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not this school marm who thinks that, you know, boxers should be these perfect dressed down gentlemen or whatever. But it's like, okay, we've already seen that from Canelo. We've already seen him call people MFers and, you know what I'm saying, and go through, all right, Canelo, we know your English has gotten way better. We know you know how to speak it. We know you understand and can sit for interviews in English now. But it's just like, hey, it's like you have the ESL kid in your class and you're just telling them to say, hey, say F you to the teacher. Hey, say bitch. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he does it because he doesn't know it. That. Like, that's what it kind of seems like they're, you know what I'm saying, they're poking at Canelo with, and he doesn't see it, you know. And it's hard for him to see these things too when people get under his skin and he gets angry the way he does. And he goes into sometimes what they like to call the full dressing room diva. You know, perfect. You know what I'm saying? And we have somebody like Berlanga who hasn't paid any dues, who's coming in here and basically rifling through his makeup drawer and shit. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna elicit that reaction from Canelo. And I'm not saying he doesn't have the right to react to that to somebody because he's an alpha male. You know what I'm saying? It's like, yo, another dog can't come into the yard. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, but at the same time, it's like, all right, let's bring in an alpha dog that's gonna be worthy to fight or try to maul Canelo, because like this is a French poodle that is coming in with a pit bull. You know, and you already know what's gonna happen with that, or you know, you have a very strong idea or notion ahead of time what's gonna happen. Where Crawford, that's up in the air. That's intangibles. You can sit there and have a conversation and break that down on paper. Benavidez, we already know what's up with that. But like I said earlier in the show, I think Crawford as it relates to Crawford, Canelo, he has the more options. It's easier for Crawford to move on and find defining fights and defining accomplishments. With Canelo, it's with Turkey saying that he's no longer interested in the fight. With Benavidez moving up to 175, with Morrell moving up to 175, and Canelo saying he's not interested in going up to 175. With Bivol saying, I'm only going to give you the rematch at 168 for. Can you guys hear me still?
Yeah, you're back on. Go ahead.
Hello?
Hey, yeah, you're back on. Yeah.
All right. And with Bivol saying he's going to go, he's only going to give him the rematch if he comes down to 168 and goes for all those belts. And I think that's the riskiest move in itself, and that's why Canelo immediately said, no, we're not doing that. Canelo has got few options. If he's not going to 175, there's nobody at 168 for him to fight. There's nobody at 160 that can come up whose name you can pronounce. And then, anybody coming from 154, the conversation is just going to be like, well, they have no business fighting them at 168. So without Canelo making concessions, without there being possible catchweight opportunities, it's going to be hard to see where it goes from here beyond Berlanga. And I think Berlanga is a bridge too far for many people, as that is like, all right, we already just saw you fight Munguia. This is another Munguia type fight where we're done. We're fed up. So, I mean, I think the biggest question is, where does Canelo go beyond Berlanga? Because the Berlanga fight's going to happen. It's already signed for. And we can open this up to the panel to where you guys think Canelo's going next. But, I mean, my theory is that, all right, Canelo has already given up the IBF title at 168. The dude from Germany, William Skull, and the Ukrainian dude, Shishkin, they're going to fight for that vacant title. What I can see happening is Canelo making a case to fight that winner and saying, well, I'm trying to make history to become the first two-time undisputed champ in the same division. That's a stretch. That's something, you know what I'm saying? But that's something that he could possibly market or seek to exploit.
Did that already.
And then an outside possibility, and I've been saying it for a long time, is that for the right person, Canelo can go up and fight somebody who's garbage at cruiserweight and make history that way. And right now, with the beef with Oscar, there's one guy that Oscar is heavily touting. He's been basically barking at with Jake Paul with the name, but Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez.
Yeah.
I can actually see them making a catchweight and Canelo going at Zurdo Ramirez for a cruiserweight title. But that's a stretch. It's really bleak for Canelo at this point, though. There's not too many options, and the options that are out there, they're stretches of the imagination. So, I mean, it's that press conference, to go back to the original topic, it's kind of a sad metaphor to where Canelo and his prospects are right now, in that they've been reduced to fighting basically a loudmouth who talked himself into a fight but didn't do anything in the ring to earn the fight. And that's who you're fighting, and that's who you're trying to market and convince people to drop coin to see you fight. But yeah, that's where I am on that.
Yo, I have to highlight this comment. He's been blowing up on the YouTube side, but this will be the last. Can you hear me? I'm good? Okay. So this will be the very last topic, but on the YouTube side, shout out to H Money from the YouTube side, Terence Crawford, ducking Jaron Ennis. So this kind of relates to, we were talking about Canelo Alvarez, what his options are. So as far as Terence Crawford, specifically of Jaron Ennis, is Jaron Ennis still even an option going forward? Because I don't see that. I think, in my opinion, I think that ship has sailed, because Jaron Ennis, he's in no rush to move up to 154 for a while. He's staying at home at 147. So I don't really have much to say about the ducking aspect, because objectively speaking, I don't see them, I really don't see them pairing up anyway. You know, I don't see them pairing up. You know, realistically speaking. So I want to give you quick thoughts, Tommy. Your thoughts about Jaron Ennis and Crawford in the same sentence. At this juncture, your thoughts?
Yeah, at this point, I agree with you, Aaron. I could see where people could try to spin that into that realm of he's ducking him, but again, it's very clear, and it's been very clear what Bud is after, what he's trying to do, what he's trying to accomplish, and in that sense and in that aspect, Boots has nothing for him, absolutely nothing. There's nothing he can offer him at all. Like, and it's just that simple. I can see where H Money and others that are Boots fans, which again, and shout out to a lot of all of the pundits and people that love and talk about boxing all the time, have kind of made a little bit of fun and said that some of Boots' new fans are Spence's old fans after the ass whooping, and they've now kind of integrated over to being Bud fans, or to being Boots fans. And so there's now a lot of barking about what Boots will bring to the table fighting Bud. But again, he doesn't have anything that at this point, with Bud being 37, I think it is right now. Is he 37? Like, he's only got a handful of fights left. None of those are something to where Boots is going to line up in place where he should get that fight. There's nothing that Boots gives him that puts him even closer to becoming 3-time undisputed. There's
36
nothing,
for Crawford.
36. So there's nothing that puts him in a closer shot for 3-time undisputed. There's nothing that really gives him anything legacy wise to fight Boots. It's really Boots wants the fight. He wants it. He feels like he needs it. He feels like he deserves it. He's barking up that tree. He's trying to Lara his way into that fight like Lara did with Canelo. And I don't think that everybody's going to talk and say what they want, but the same thing. The fans are really trying to help push that narrative that you're scared of him, or you're ducking him, you're running from him. No,
who is Boots fought?
Yeah, exactly. Ain't no way in hell.
Who is Boots fought to elicit this fear? Who is Boots fought to warrant the conversation for this fight? Yeah, it'd be a nice fight to have, but like, what has Boots done for Crawford to be scared of him?
Yeah, exactly. And if we just got done talking, like, for one thing, if there's somebody that we should be barking about the two of them fighting, is Virgil Ortiz and fucking Boots. That's the fight, because if anything, that fight was marinating. Their whole trajectory was parallel all the way up through their career until Virgil got the illness with the rhabdo. And that was kind of one of those let it marinate, let their careers build. Don't let them fight early, because it can change the trajectory of both of the loser's career because of the nature of the way things are now. So if anything, they should be fucking fighting. Not this whole thing of, well, he's running from Boots. Ain't no fucking way. He ain't running from Boots. Boots, I mean, he has the skills. He's good. He's really good. But no, that there's no place in hell where that is something that is a standard. It's an expectation. It's something that must happen. And there's really no upside again for Bud, because that just wastes 6 to 8 months of the rest of his career, which is very short at this point, to waste that on somebody like Boots. So he fights Boots, he wins, then what? Oh, well, Boots was inexperienced. He didn't have as much experience, and it's going to be excuses out the ass when it comes down to that. So no, I don't think that there's really a place for it at this point. I think we're past it.
Great thoughts, Tommy. Tiffany, let's go to you. Your thoughts?
My thoughts align a lot with what Tommy. Earlier, we had a conversation about whether or not Virgil Ortiz deserved a fight with Terence Crawford. Now, this is kind of parallel to that, whether or not Boots. I like Boots. If I'm not mistaken, I think Crawford still has 3 of the belts at 47, right? He's probably not going to go back down, so he's probably going to relinquish those belts at some point. And to Tommy's point, he's trying to become 3-time undisputed, or even further goes and fight Canelo Alvarez, and then I believe that's going to be the end of his career. H Money. I know Terence Crawford personally. This man is the most competitive person I have ever met in my entire life. He would, whatever you think you did best, he gonna tell you he can do it better than you. And he might not have ever done it before, but he feels like he's the best at everything and anything that he does. He is not scared of Jaron Ennis at all. At all. He is not ducking that man. It just does not make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make sense to his handlers. It doesn't make sense to Tommy and a couple other people. If he was going back down to 47, then maybe, but I don't foresee him going back down. I think he's going to vacate his belts and continue on up to 54 and then go from there. Ron is the future of that, maybe that division. Maybe he can move up to 54, but it might be too late once he moves up to 54. If he decides to do that, it might be too late for him to get that fight. But I do like that. I also feel like he should have fought Virgil Ortiz as well. I mean, I thought that person could have been the winner at 47 to fight Bud, but then Virgil moved up too. So maybe, I don't know.
Great stuff, Tiffany. Courtney, your thoughts on that? This coming from H Money.
I mean, you can't advocate for Ennis, you know what I'm saying, or so that narrative when Ennis is in a division that's dead, but he hasn't even cleaned everybody up. It's like, and it's like, okay, how is it dead? But you're saying he hasn't cleaned everybody up. Ennis, you know what I'm saying, Ennis could fight Stanionis, he could fight Barrios. You know what I'm saying? They're still doing what Ennis needs to. He needs to do one or two things. He either needs to clean up what remains at 147, which is not much, but basically just go ahead and take out the rest of the garbage at 147, or he can follow Crawford up to 154 and keep popping bubble gum and calling him out. But ultimately, the thing with Ennis where the whole Crawford is ducking Ennis thing does not hold weight is how are you Crawford is calling out the undisputed champion at 168, 2 divisions above where he's at. So why is he scared of Ennis? I just don't think Boots has done anything to strike fear into the hearts of anybody who is elite at 147 and 154, 160, 168, who is anywhere near the top 10. I think Boots is an enormously talented guy, but he doesn't have any defining accomplishments or fights. And the strap that he's holding, it was given to him, like, because the person who held it before him didn't want it anymore. And the thing, like, it's just really hard. It's really hard to really sincerely believe the narrative that Crawford is ducking Boots. That has nothing to do with me being a fan of Crawford, because I like Boots too. But I just think, I don't know. He is elevated past that. So like, if he wants that fight, he needs to go up into 154. But I think with Boots, he has a golden opportunity to be undisputed at 147. If you're there, if you're making that weight comfortably and the fights can easily be made, go ahead and do that. Go ahead and have that accomplishment and go and move up the scales the same way that Crawford did. You might not meet Crawford in that process of doing that, but I mean, eventually Crawford has got more days behind him than he does ahead of him. Go ahead and be that. Go ahead and be next. And there's nothing wrong with being next. But I think we as fans, we're on social media entirely too much. We talk entirely too much shit to each other, and always got to big up our guy or whatever. So I think what we as the boxing fans and me as heads on, and pundits on social media, I think we've made that whole situation or that whole conversation more relevant or bigger than it actually is. In terms of is Crawford ducking Boots, or is Boots, you know what I'm saying, is he not deserving of the fight with it? It's like, it's really, they're on different trajectories at this point. And I think Boots' career needs to be respected to where it's like, let him go ahead and sow his own legacy. And there's nothing wrong with him doing that at 147. Or if he wants to pursue Crawford, all right, do it the right way. Move up to 154 and take out everybody you need to take out until there's no choice but that for that fight to be viable.
And here's the thing too. Like when we get to talking about Boots and Virgil, look who's where. Look who just tipped the scales with 154. Virgil did. Now, granted, he had the training issues with the health and weight and all of that, so it made more sense for him to make the jump quicker, but he made the jump. We could talk about, even like, shout out Jerry saying that Boots should fight, Barrios or somebody like that, and then try to move up and see what's going on. But again, the time is ticking. The time is ticking for the end of Bud's career. So you take that fight. Now you got to make another fight that's 6 to 8 months away, at least at minimum. You say you do go up to 154. He's going to have a filler fight at 154. Then you got to wait again another 6 to 8 months. Like we don't have time for it. Like there's no way. And at that point, when does Boots actually get a belt at that weight class? Because that's what's going to matter. We already have this opportunity tomorrow where Virgil could potentially gain a world title and be in that position because he moved to that weight class quicker than Boots did. So all of the barking and all of that, we could say all we want. Is put up or shut up. And the action is already being put forth by one where they both were on that same trajectory. If Boots would have moved up, a lot sooner and, got to feel their fight at that weight because they have said like, yeah, we can move up. Okay, well, do it. if that's what you're going to do it. But don't sit there and try to talk that energy and bring that like Courtney said, the social media energy, because here's the facts. They were just face to fucking face not too long ago. And the energy wasn't the same because Bud looked him dead in his face and he couldn't, and Boots couldn't look back at him and said, I thought you wasn't going to watch, but you hear. And when Boots got interviewed, he's like, oh, well, yeah, I'm here from my people and all of that. Like you could have answered that a whole different way. You could have tried to boss back up on it, but you didn't. You hit that puppy dog on it. So now you got to eat that puppy chow and go run along and play. So like there's big dog statuses going on and you're not really trying to be a part of it. You want to be gifted into it, but you ain't trying to really do what you got to do to get there. And he could have done that. He hasn't. And so he and the fans, I'm a fan of him as well, but not one of those blind fans or biased fans of him, but the ones that are, they're trying to boost this. They're trying to push the narrative a little bit too much and not actually live in the reality of where it's at. And, the reality is if anybody gets that shot, it'll be the one that he could have fought, his whole career, Virgil.
My thoughts again, being aligned with you, Tiffany, you, Tommy, and as well as Courtney. And shout out to Courtney. He's having technical difficulties, so he texted me on the side. He can't make it, but shout out to Courtney. Enjoy the rest of your day or night out and abroad. But yeah, one final thought I'll say is like, Crawford versus Ennis. For me personally, that narrative has expired. And on the flip side, I believe I think Ennis will do great things. He doesn't need Crawford to build up his resume. He has a whole future ahead of him. So I think this whole ducking argument for in favor of Ennis, it's unneeded. It's wasted talk in my opinion. But yeah, great thoughts, Tommy, Tiffany. As well as Courtney, Michael Gomes, shout out, and also Stephen Ruiz, who was with us in spirit in the chat. But a shout out to Jerry Salinas, H Money over on the YouTube side, Stephen Ruiz again, and everyone else viewing us. Any last shout outs? Let's start with you, Tiffany. Any last shout outs you want to give out to end it? Go ahead, Tiffany.
Shout out to Terence Crawford. Shout out to Ohio Runs Boxing. And guys, the Olympics is happening. It's about over. We have some boxers there. Shout out to USA Boxing. But this little town called Cincinnati, Ohio, we are the city with the most medal boxers in the nation. Okay, just so you guys know that's a little fact. And we have the best amateur gym in the city of Cincinnati. It's a small gym called Real Deal Boxing. Shout out to them. And we have legendary Olympians coaching some of these kids in different gyms. We got Rashi Warren at Cincinnati Golden Gloves. He's the head coach. And sometimes we have Olympian silver medalist Duke Reagan. He's down at Millville Boxing Gym. So shout out to all the guys here in Cincinnati, Millville Boxing, Real Deal, Cincinnati Golden Gloves, and of course, Ohio Runs Boxing.
Talk that shit, Tiffany. There you go. And Tommy Rush Jr., Sneaker Head Rush. What's up, man? Any closing thoughts, shout outs you want to give out? Go ahead, Tommy.
Man, shout out to all of y'all. You know, just overall, you know, just the whole team. It's been great. It's great getting back on the mic and doing what we do, talking that boxing shit. You know, the last about month and a half or so has been it's been challenging for me. I've had some health type of things going on. I had to heal up, but yeah, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be on. I'm glad to be talking that boxing shit, you know, getting it in with everybody, and definitely appreciate, you know, all of the hard work that everybody's been putting in, holding it down. You know, shout out to all of our collaborators, our other partners that get it in as far as on this boxing shit, you know, Boxing Rundown, Boxing Ruckus, you know, Long Live Boxing, everybody. I mean, All Access Elite, like so many. Ohio Runs Boxing, as you said, shout out Marcus Nall, like everybody. You know, so many that we just can't count it. We can't name everybody, but we love everybody. We love the support. We love all of what everybody else is doing as well. There's enough room for all of us to eat. We all getting at it. Oh, Jerry, look, he trying to get at it. He said Texas athlete got the most medals. Oh man, look, Tiffany, she getting ready. She getting ready to go for blow. Man, but just overall, you know, definitely also shout out to my family, shout out to my wife supporting me through all of those different types of things that was going on. And man, I'm excited. We still got a lot going on. We got a lot coming with boxing. We got a lot in the sport, you know, like Tiffany just alluded to with the Olympics. There's been a lot of attention, both positive and you know, not so much positive, just kind of controversial and things. But overall,
accurate description of events in the Olympics, I would say.
Yeah, you know, but overall, boxing is alive. Boxing is well. Boxing is doing great, and I love it. I'm here for it, and we're gonna get many more opportunities to talk that shit. So it's exciting, it's motivating, it's influential, and I love it. So shout out to y'all. We got more of that great shit coming. Keep tuning in. Please follow, share, you know, like it, subscribe, all of that. Give everybody that you know. I mean, hell, just today I was out and I'm talking boxing and talking about our podcast to other people, and we gained some followers there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're going to get it in. We're going to always get it in. So shout out to everybody worldwide.
Definitely. You know, I'm exhausted, but I think my shout outs are the same as Tiffany and Tommy. And I also don't have the energy to match Courtney's energy when he does those Oscar speeches. So I'm burnt out, but shout out. I'll have to do this. I have to give a general shout out to everybody. You know who you are. Thank you to all our supporters. Our viewerships, our listeners on the audio side. Thank you. We're very humbled to have viewers and listeners like you guys out there. Thank you. We very much appreciate it. One last thing though, be sure to check out tomorrow's the Zone Golden Boy event tomorrow at the Ultra Arena of the Mandalay Bay. You got Virgil Ortiz Jr. Challenging Serhiy Bohachuk of Ukraine for the interim WBC Junior Middleweight Championship. I'm even reading pundits from media saying that this could be Fight of the Year, FOTY. So we'll wait and see. So that's going to be it for episode 108 of the Standing 8 podcast. I'm Aaron Soya from Los Angeles. Joining me, Tiffany Daniels, First Lady of Boxing, Tommy Rush Jr. out in Dallas, Texas. And earlier in this episode, we had Michael Gomes representing New Jersey, and also Courtney Tanner, the Burt Brown Sugar, and as well as Stephen Ruiz, who couldn't make it. But hey, he made it up by being on the Boxing Rundown, you know, representing for us, esteemed show, the Boxing Rundown. Shout out to Rokas. I guess I'll give it a quick shout out, extra shout out. Shout out to Rokas, Anthony Saldana, Just Boxing, and also All Access Elite, and all the media conglomerates out there. You know who you are. So yeah, from all of us to all you, have a good night. Peace.